Give that to you.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't have the chapter book.
How dare you? Don't
It's
lose
the
our
next
spot.
page.
Okay. Sorry. Hi.
Hello. Welcome.
Welcome, friends. I'm Avalon.
I'm Sabrina.
I'm Jasmine.
And welcome to our channel,
Fun and Friends.
where we do random stuff. Right now, mostly readings.
Yeah, mostly it's a book club, but that's okay. We like it.
Eventually, we'll be doing something else with it too, but we haven't quite figured out what.
We're testing waters.
All right, so recap on the last chapter. The Nevers and Evers all met up together for their big assembly of sorts. And Sophie and Agatha got to see each other again. Agatha still wants to get out, and Sophie is like, no, give me your dress. That should be mine. Sophie's true colors are really starting to show through with being selfish and driven to do what she wants for herself. And now the princes have come into the game, and Sophie has her eyes set on Prince, I already forgot his name.
Ted
Rose, the son of
King Arthur.
So yeah.
Needed little help with that recap.
I forgot.
It's been a minute since we got together, so.
You just looked at the book to remind yourself too.
Yes.
That is true. Alrighty, here we go.
Anyway, going into chapter 6, definitely evil.
Ooh.
Even has like this scary like dragon looking creature. Look at this. I'll show them in a second too.
Ooh.
I already saw it, but you can show her.
Definitely looks
Oh,
evil.
yeah.
Yeah.
Skulls. Skeleton.
It's funny how like things like if you look at it, you're like, okay, that's definitely evil. Like
You just know. It's your instinct to know.
The next morning, 50 princesses dashed about the 5th floor as if it was their wedding day. On the first day of class, they all wanted to make their best impressions on the teachers, boys, and anyone who might lead to them ever after. Swans twinkling in nightgowns, they flurried into each other's rooms, glossing lips, poofing hair, buffing nails, and trailing so much perfume that fairies passed out and littered the halls like dead flies. So still, no one seemed any closer to being dressed, and indeed, when the clock told 8 a.m., signaling the start of breakfast, not a single girl had put their clothes on. Breakfast makes you fat anyway, Beatrix reassured. Rena poked her head into the hall. Has anyone seen any panties? Agatha certainly hadn't. She was free-falling through a dark chute, trying to remember how she found Halfway Bridge the first time. Honor Tower to Hansel's Haven to Merlin's Menagerie. After landing in the beanstalk, she crept through the dim gallery of good until she found the doors behind the stuffed bears. Or was it Honor Tower to Cinderella Commons? Still mulling the correct route, she threw open the doors to the stair room and ducked. A polished glass lobby was packed with faculty in colorful dresses and suits mingling before class. Neon-haired nymphs in pink gowns, white veils, and blue lace gloves floated about the foyer, refilling teacups, frosting biscuits, and fluttering fairies off of sugar cubes. From behind the doors, Agatha peeked at the stair marked Honor, lit by the high stained glass windows, far above the crowd. How could she get past them all? She felt something scrape her leg and turned to find a mouse gnawing at her petticoat. Agatha kicked the mouse away, which tumbled into the paws of a stuffed cat. Did you hear the last part?
Into the paws of a cat?
Into the paws of a stuffed cat.
Stuffed cat.
Okay.
Not a real cat, stuffed cat.
Poor baby.
So probably
Baby.
some foreshadowment of some sort there.
Probably.
Probably
Could
scared
be.
the little mouse.
Poor baby.
I know. The mouse screeched and saw the cat was dead. He gave Agatha the dirtiest look and marched back into its hole in the wall. Even the vermin here hate me. She sighed as she tried to salvage her petticoat.
So much sass. I love it.
Her fingers stopped as they ran over.
Instead of I don't give a rat's ass, it's how much rat sass.
A rat's ass. The torn lace. Perhaps she shouldn't have been so hard on that little mouse. A few moments later, an undersized nymph in ragged lace veil scurried through the room of honor for the honor stairs. Unfortunately, the veil left Agatha blind, and she tripped into the nymph and crashed into a teacher. Heavens St. Mary! Clarissa moaned, dripping with prune juice.
I heard a different name, but I'm not going to repeat it.
Clarice, right?
Clarissa.
Oh.
Oh, you were thinking C-L-I-T. Okay, yeah. I was like, we're going to do some spelling here. Not that that's going to stop any of them people who are listening from knowing what that was. Okay, anyway, back to this. Clarissa moaned, dripping with prune tea. As alarmed professors dabbed their dresses, Agatha slid behind the charity steps. Those nymphs really are too tall, Clarissa scolded. Next thing you know, they'll knock down a tower. By then, Agatha had already disappeared into Honor Tower and wrapped her way up Hansel's Haven. The wing of the first floor classrooms was made completely out of candy. There was a room of sparkling blue swizzles and rock sugar glistening like a salt mine. There was a marshmallow room with white fudge chairs and gingerbread desks. There was even a room made of lollipops, blanketing the walls in rainbow colors.
I'm sorry, are they trying to precondition them to go into the witch's hut with all the candy?
Hey, but if you're sitting in a classroom full of sugar and you don't eat it, it'll help. Right?
Sure.
Self-control.
Okay.
Teaching self-control. If you see a kid who's nomming on their desk, it's probably, they're not going to be one of the ever afters, right? They're going to be like one of those, like...
What if they have, like, the Pika disorder and they're just eating it?
Well, obviously they're not going to be one of the main characters. They're going to end up being like a mouse or something, you know?
It wasn't considered in the storyline.
We need a beanstalk forest.
Yes, they will be a beanstalk.
Healthy options.
Healthy options. You eat sweets, you become a vegetable.
There was even a room made of lollipops, blanketing the walls in rainbow colors. Agatha wondered how these rooms stayed intact, and then saw the inscription sweeping the corridor wall with cherry gumdrops. Temptation is the path to evil.
You've already read this book, so...
Agatha ate half of it before she hurried to the... Agatha ate half of it before she was hustled by two passing teachers, who gave her veil a curious look but didn't stop her. Must be spots, she heard one whisper as she raced up the back stairs, but not before stealing a caramel doorknob and a butterscotch welcome mat and to complete her heavenly breakfast.
Grab and go.
Yep, we're going to eat the classroom.
This is Agatha?
Yeah, she's just eating the classroom.
Yeah,
we're going to have some caramel for breakfast. Yep.
I mean,
yum yum.
Caramel for breakfast right here.
That's true. Not caramel frappuccino.
Caramel macchiato. Yeah. Good stuff.
So I don't know why I always have to get it hot.
And I always get it cold.
I always have to have it cold.
Even though it's like 90 degrees outside, I'm like...
I had a cold brew.
I mean,
in
the
case
caffeine,
anybody wonders.
just like alcohol, still makes me warm. So for me, it's my
I like to
counteract.
Yeah.
Not that we had that today.
Huh?
We didn't have that today.
Have what?
Alcohol?
Oh, you were talking about
No,
alcohol.
I said caffeine like alcohol makes me feel warm. Which is why even when it's like 40 degrees out, I'm still sipping a nice coffee.
Let us know what your favorite coffee is, and now you know ours. We would love to hear it down below.
When she ran from the fairies the day before, Agatha had stumbled onto the rooftop topiary by accident. Today she could appreciate Merlin's menagerie, as the school map named it, filled with magnificently sculptured hedges and that told the legend of King Arthur in sequence. Each hedge celebrated a scene from the king's life. Arthur pulling the sword from the stone, Arthur with the Knights of the Round Table, Arthur at the wedding altar with Guinevere. Agatha thought of the pompous boy from the theater, the one everyone said was King Arthur's son. How could he see this and not feel suffocated? How could he survive the comparisons, the expectations? At least he had the beauty on the outside. Imagine if he looked like me, she snorted. They'd have dumped that baby in the woods. The final sculpture in the sequence was one with a pond.
Not wrong for that time period.
And this is how he becomes a demigod, like Maui?
I was just thinking Game of Thrones where they just started putting the babies in the woods. We're going to turn him into a White Walker over here.
Yep. I thought of that too.
He'll be an Ice King instead. This time, a towering statue of Arthur revealing Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake. This time, Agatha jumped into the water on purpose and fell through the secret portal, completely dry, onto Halfway Bridge. She hurried towards the midpoint where the fog began, palms extended in case the barrier came earlier than she remembered. But as she entered the mist, her hands couldn't find it. She moved deeper into the fog. It's gone. Agatha broke into a run, wind whipping the veil off of her face. Bam! She smacked back, exploding in pain. Apparently, the barrier moved where it wanted. Avoiding her reflection in its sheen, she touched the invisible wall and felt the cold, hard surface. Suddenly, she noticed movement through the fog and saw two people step through Evil's archway onto Halfway Bridge. Agatha froze. She had no time to get back to Good, nowhere on the bridge to hide. Two teachers, the handsome, good professor who had smiled at her, and an evil one with boils on both cheeks, walked across the bridge and through the barrier without the slightest hesitation. Dangling from the stone rail high above the moat, Agatha listened to them pass, then peeked up over the rail edge. The two teachers were about to disappear into Good when a handsome man looked back and smiled. Agatha ducked. "What is it, August?" he heard the evil teacher ask. "My eyes are playing tricks on me," he chuckled as they entered the towers. Definitely a crackpot, Agatha thought. Moments later, she was in front of an invisible wall once more. How had they passed? She searched for the edge but couldn't find one. She tried kicking it. It was hard as steel. Peering up into the school for Good, Agatha could see two wolves herding students downstairs. She would be in plain sight if the fog thinned even slightly. Giving the wall one last kick, she retreated to Good. "And don't come back!" Agatha spun around to see who had spoken, but all she found was the reflection in the barrier, arms folded. She averted her eyes. "Now I'm hearing things. Lovely." She turned towards the tower and noticed her own arms hanging by her sides. She whirled her face to the reflection. Did you just speak?" Her reflection cleared its throat. "Good with good, evil with evil, back to your tower before there's upheaval." I need to get through," Agatha said, eyes glued to the ground. "Good with good, evil with evil, back to your tower before there's serious upheaval. Meaning cleaning plates after supper and losing your room privileges, or both, if I have anything to say about it." "I need to see a friend," Agatha pressed. "Good has no friends on the other side," the reflection said. Agatha heard sugary ringing and turned to see the glow of the fairies at the end of the bridge. How could she outwit herself? How could she find the chink in her own armor? Good with good, evil with evil. In a flash, she knew the answer. "How about you?" Agatha said, still looking away. "Do you have any friends?" Her reflection tensed. "I don't know, do I?" Agatha gritted her teeth and met her own eyes. "You're too ugly to have friends."
Oh. I give her a hug.
Me too.
Her reflection turned sad. "Definitely evil," it said, and vanished.
So sad.
Agatha reached out her hand to touch the barrier. This time it went straight through. By the time the ferry patrol made it onto the bridge, the fog had eased and had erased her tracks. The moment Agatha set foot into evil, she had the feeling this is where she belonged. Crouched behind the statue of a bald, bony witch on the leaky foyer, she scanned across the cracked ceilings, singed walls, serpentine staircase, shadow-masked halls. She couldn't have designed it better herself. With the coast clear of wolves, Agatha snuck through the main corridor, soaking in the portraits of villainous alumni. She'd always found villains more exciting than heroes. They had ambition, passion. They made the stories happen. Villains didn't fear death. No, they wrapped themselves in death like a suit of armor. As she inhaled the school's graveyard smell, Agatha felt the blood rush. For, like all villains, death didn't scare her, it made her feel alive. She suddenly heard chatter and shrank behind a wall. A wolf came into view, leading a group of Never girls down the vice staircase. Agatha heard the twitter about their first classes catching the words henchman, curses, uglification. How could these kids be any uglier? Agatha felt the blush of shame. Looking at this parade of sallow bodies and repugnant faces, she knew she would fit right in. Even their frumpy black smocks were just like the ones she wore every day back at home. But there was a difference between her and these villains. Their mouths twisted with bitterness, their eyes flickered with hate, their fists curled with pent-up rage. They were wicked, no doubt. And Agatha didn't feel wicked at all, but she remembered Sophie's words. Different usually turns out evil. Panic gripped her throat. That's why the shadow didn't kidnap a second kid. I was meant to be here all along. Tears stung her eyes. She didn't want to be like these children. She didn't want to be a villain. She wanted to find her friend and go home. There was no clue where to even look. Agatha hurtled up the staircase marked Mischief to the landing, which split into two scraggly stone paths. She heard voices on the left, so she dashed right, down the short hall, to a dead end and city walls. Agatha backed against one, petrified by voices growing louder, then felt something creak behind her. It wasn't a wall, but a door, blanketed in ash. Her dress was wiped clean to reveal red letters, The Exhibition of Evil. It was a pitch dark inside, coughing on what must be spider webs. Agatha lit a match. Where Goods Gallery was pristine and vast, Evil's was a sparse broom closet, reflected their 200-year losing streak. Agatha examined the faded uniform of a boy who became Rumpelstiltskin, a broken framed essay on morality of murder by a future witch, a few stuffed crows hanging on crumpled walls, and a rotted vine of thorns that blinded the famous prince labeled Vera of the Woods Beyond. Agatha had seen her face on the missing posters in Galveston. Shuddering, she noticed flecks of color on the wall that held her match to it. It was a panel in a mural, like the one of Ever After in the Good Towers. Each of the 8 panels showed a black-robed villain revealing an inferno of infinite power, flying through fire, transmuting in body, fracturing into soul, manipulating space and time. At the top of the mural, stretching from the first panel to the last, were the giant letters set aflame, Nevermore. Wherever's dreamt of love and happiness, the never sought a world of solitude and power. As the sinister visions sent thrills through their heart, Agatha felt the shock of truth. I'm a Never. Her best friend was an Ever. If they didn't get home soon, Sophie would see the truth. Here, they couldn't be friends. She saw a snouted shadow move into her matchlight. 2 shadows. 3. Just as the wolves pounced, Agatha wheeled back and whipped Vera's thorns across their faces. The wolves roared in surprise and stumbled back, giving her just enough time to scramble to the door. Breathless, she dashed down the hall, up the stairs, and she found herself in Malice's hall's 2nd floor, hunting for Sophie's name in the dormitory doors. Vex and Born, Court and Raven, Flint and Titan, Boys' Floor. Just as she heard a door open, she sprinted up the back stairs to a dead-end attic filled with musky vials of frogs' toes, lizard legs, dog tongues. Her mother was right. Who knew how long these had been sitting here? She heard a wolf slobbering up the steps. Agatha climbed out the attic window onto the soaring roof and clutched to the rain gutter. Thunder detonated from dark clouds, while across the lake the good towers twinkled in perfect sunshine. As the storm drenched her pink dress, her eyes followed the long twisted gutter, shooting water through the mouths of 3 stone gargoyles that held up brass beams. It was her only hope. She climbed into the gutter, hands struggling to keep grip on the slippery rails, and craned back to the window, knowing that the white wolf was coming. But he wasn't. He stared at her through the window, hairy arms folded over a red jacket. There are worse things than wolves, you know.
Like death.
He walked away, leaving her agape. What? What could possibly be worse then? Something moved in the rain. Agatha shielded her eyes and peered through the sparkling blur to see the first stone gargoyle yawn and spread its dragon wings. Then the second gargoyle, with a head... With a snake's head and lion's trunk, stretched his with a gunshot crack. Then the third, twice as big as the other, with a horned demon head, man's torso and studded tail, thrust out its dragon wings lighter than the tower. Agatha blanched. Gargoyles! What did they say about gargoyles?
I just love how the wolf was like, you were scared of me. Bye.
Bye! See ya, I'm not dealing with those things. You can deal with those. Their eyes turned to her, viciously red, and she remembered orders to kill. With a collective shriek, they leapt off their perches. Without their support, the gutter collapsed, and she plunged into the water with a scream. The tidal wave of rain slammed her through the harrowing turns and drops as the loose beam lurched wildly in the rain. Agatha saw 2 gargoyles swoop for her as she swerved as she swerved in the gutter slide just in time. The third horned demon rose up high and blasted fire from its nose. Agatha grabbed into the rails, and the fireball hit in front of her, searing a giant hole in the beam. She skidded short just before she plummeted through. A crashing force tackled her from behind, and the dragon-winged gargoyle grabbed her leg with its sharp talons and hoisted her into the air. "I'm a student!" Agatha screamed. The gargoyle dropped her, startled. "See?" Agatha cried, pointing at her face. "I'm a never!" Swooping down, the gargoyle studied her face to see if this was true. It grabbed her by the throat to say it wasn't. Agatha screamed and stabbed her foot into the burnt hole, deflecting rushing water into the monster's eye. It stumbled blindly, claws flailing for her, only to fall through the hole and shatter its wing on the balcony below. Agatha held onto the rails for life, fighting terrible leg pain. But through the water, she saw another one coming. With ear-piercing screech, the snake-headed gargoyle tore through the flood and snatched her into the air. But its massive jaws yawned to devour her. Agatha thrust her foot between its teeth, which smashed down on the hard black lump and snapped like matchsticks. Dazed, the monster dropped her. Agatha crash-landed into the flooding gutter and gripped the rail. "Help!" she screamed. If she held on, someone would hear her and rescue her. "Help!" Her hand slipped. She careened down eaves, jerking and heaving towards the last spout, where the biggest gargoyle waited, horns like the devil, jaws white over the spout like a infernal tunnel. Clawing, gurgling, Agatha tried to stop herself, but the rain bashed her along in gushing bursts. She looked down and saw the gargoyle blast fire from its nose, which ricocheted across the pipe. Agatha ducked underwater to avoid the instant cremation and bobbed back up. Clinging to the rail's edge above the final drop, the last rush of rain would send her right into the gargoyle's open mouth. She remembered the gargoyles when she first saw them, guarding the gutter, spewing rain from their mouths. What goes out must come in. She heard the second wave coming behind her. With a silent prayer, Agatha let go and fell into the demon's smoking jaws. Just as fire and teeth skewered her, rain smashed through the spout behind her, spewing her through the hole in the gargoyle's throat and out into the gray sky. She glanced back at the choking gargoyle and let out a scream of relief, which turned into terror as she free fell through the fog. Agatha glimpsed a spiked wall about to impale her and an open window beneath. She curled into a desperate ball and just missed the lethal blades, and crashed onto her stomach, dripping wet and coughing up water in the 6th floor of Malice Hall. "I thought gargoyles were decoration," she wheezed, clutching her leg. Agatha limped down the dorm hall, hunting for signs of Sophie.
Were you going to say something?
No.
No, okay.
I'm taking a coffee break for a second.
I'm bemused.
A lot is going on.
Yes. Considering the whole last chapter was literally just basically all taking place in a dorm room with people walking in and sitting down, this is like way more fast-paced.
Yes.
All right. Clutching her leg, Agatha limped down the dorm hall, searching for signs of Sophie. Just as she was about to start pounding doors, she caught sight of one on the end of the hall. Gratified with caricature of a blonde princess splashed with paint slurs. "Loser, reader, ever lover." Agatha knocked hard. "Sophie, it's me." Doors started opening on the other end of the hall. Agatha pounded harder. "Sophie!" Black-robed girls were emerging from their rooms. Agatha jiggled Sophie's door handle and shoved against the frame, but it wouldn't budge. Just as the Never girls turned poised to discover the intruder in pink, Agatha took a running start, threw herself into the defaced door of room 66, which swung open and slammed shut behind her. "You have no idea what I went through to get here." She stopped. Sophie was crumbled over a puddle of water on the floor, singing as she applied blush to her reflection. "I'm the prettiest princess, sweet as a pea, waiting for a prince to marry me." 3 bunkmates and 3 rats watched from across the room, mouths open in shock.
No. No.
Hester looked up at Agatha. She flooded our floor. To do her makeup, said Annadelle. Whoever heard of anything so evil? Dot grimaced, song included. Is my face even? Sophie said, squinting into the puddle. I can't go to class looking like a clown. Her eyes shifted. Agatha, darling, about time you came to your senses. Your uglification class starts in 2 minutes, and you don't want to make your first impression a poor one.
Wow.
Agatha stared at her.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Sophie said, standing up. We have to switch clothes first. Come off they go. You're not going to class, darling, Agatha said, turning red. You're going to the schoolmaster's tower right now before we're stuck here forever. Don't be a boob, said Sophie, tugging
Don't be a what?
a
Boob.
A boob.
Okay.
Don't be a boob.
Okay.
Said Sophie, tugging at Agatha's dress. We can't break into the tower in broad daylight, and if you're going home anyway, you should give me your clothes now so I don't miss any of my assignments. Agatha wrenched away. Okay, that's it. Now listen to... You'll blend right in here, Sophie smiled, studying Agatha next to her roommate. Agatha lost her fire. Because I'm ugly? Oh, for goodness sakes, Aggie, look at this place, Sophie said. You like gloom and doom. You like suffering and unhappiness and burnt things. You'll be happy here. We agree, said a voice behind Agatha, and she turned in surprise. You can come live here, Hester said to her. And she drowns in a lake, Dot scowled at Sophie, still wounded by her jab at the welcoming. We liked you the moment we saw you, Annadelle cooed, rats licking Agatha's feet. You belong here with us, Hester said, as she, Annadelle, and Dot crowded around Agatha, whose head swung nervously between the villainous 3. Did you really like to be her friend? Was Sophie right? Could being a villain make her happy? Agatha's stomach churned. She didn't want to be evil, not when Sophie was good. They would get out of this place before it tore them apart. I'm not leaving you, she cried to Sophie, breaking away. No one's asking you to leave me, Agatha, Sophie said tightly. We're just asking you to leave your clothes. No, Agatha shouted. We're not switching clothes. We're not switching rooms. We're not switching schools. Sophie and Hester exchanged furtive glances. We're going home, Agatha said, voice catching. We can be friends there. On the same side. No good. No evil. We'll be happy forever. Sophie and Hester tackled her. Dot and Annadelle pulled the pink dress off of Agatha's body, and the 4 of them shoved Sophie's black robes into its place. Shimmying her into her new pink dress, Sophie threw open the door. Goodbye, evil. Hello, love. Agatha stumbled to her feet and looked down at the putrid black sock that fit just how she liked it. And all is right with the world, Hester sighed. Really, I don't know how you were ever friends with that tramp. Get back here, Agatha yelled, pursuing Sophie in pink through the halls hordes of black. Shocked by an ever in their midst, Never swarmed around Sophie and started to beat her, without the head with books, bags, and shoes. No, she's one of us! All the Nevers turned to Hort in the stairwell, including dumbstruck Sophie. Hort pointed at Agatha in black. That's the Ever. The Nevers unleashed a new war cry and mobbed Agatha as Sophie shoved Hort away and escaped down the stairs. Agatha scraped through the gauntlet with a few well-paced kicks and slid down the banister to cut Sophie off. With Sophie in sight, she tracked her through the tight corridor, reached out her hand to grab her by the pink collar. But Sophie turned the corner, ran up snaking steps, and veered off the first floor. Agatha swerved into a dead end, saw Sophie magically jump through the wall, blood splattered. No students.
I was about to say, what?
I was like, this is not how this ends.
There was no more Sophie.
Yep.
Sophie magically jumped through a wall, blood-splattered no students, and with a flying leap, Agatha jumped through the portal right after her and landed on the evil end of the halfway bridge. This was where the chase ceased for Sophie. For Sophie was too far too good to catch. Through the fog, Agatha could see her glowing with joy. Agatha, he's King Arthur's son, she gushed, a real-life prince. But what do I say to him? How do I show him I'm... Agatha wait, what? Oh, wait.
Did you miss a page?
Oh, how do I show him I'm the one? Agatha tried to hide her hurt. You leave me here alone? Sophie's face softened. Please don't worry, Aggie. Everything is perfect now, she said gently. We'll still be friends, just in different schools like we planned. No one can stop us from being friends, can they? Agatha gazed at Sophie's beautiful smile and believed her. But all of a sudden, her friend's smile vanished because on Sophie's body, the pink dress magically rotted to black. Just like that, Sophie was in her odd, old, sagging villain robes, swan glittering over her heart. She looked up and gasped. Across the bridge, Agatha's black clothes had shrunk back to pink. The two girls gasped at each other in shock. Suddenly, shadows swept over Sophie and Agatha spun. A giant wave swelled high above her, waters curling into a shimmering lasso. Before Agatha could run, it swooped and hurled her across the bay into the sunlit mist. Sophie lunged to the bridge's gloomy edge and let out a wail of injustice. The wave slowly rose back over her. This time its waters didn't shimmer. With a belligerent roar, it smashed Sophie into the school of evil and right back on schedule.
And now you're going to run to class soaking wet.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
It honestly
So is
reminds me
Sophie
of...
going to make it to amplification class in the next chapter?
I don't know. Who was she? It reminds me of Moana, when the water just goes...
Yes. yes. I was just thinking that. How fun. Well, that was a lot.
That was a very intense action chapter.
Very, very fast-paced.
Like it. Very good.
Yeah.
What are your predictions?
Well, I think Sophie's gonna be freaking livid, so that'll be interesting because now she's gonna want vengeance on her own friend because she's gonna blame Agatha for something that's not even her fault. And then Agatha is gonna be completely shell shocked at the fact that Sophie
Turned on her.
was kind of not the friend she was hoping for, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you think she's going to continue to try and escape, or she's going to just go with it?
I don't think she's gonna fully go with it. I feel like
Maybe one more
Agatha kind of
attempt.
still sees the wrongness of this complete segregation of good and evil, and as it's already been foreshadowing, there's something different about people from their village when they come to this place.
Yeah.
So I think there is still more going on with that.
We just don't see.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Maybe Agatha does need... But I think the other thing, too, with that is maybe Agatha does need some princess lessons to kind of see the beauty in herself that she doesn't see.
Yeah,
just
I like
because
that.
you might not look like a model on a magazine doesn't mean you don't have a heart of gold.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you're not beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You still are.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, she's kind, and she's thoughtful, and she's caring, and I mean, she
Doesn't-
just almost got eaten by gargoyles for a friend,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and she sees nothing wrong with it. She's not like, I did this for you. No, she just did it. She doesn't have to brag about it. She doesn't have to
She's just like,
justify it.
I'm just trying to help you out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But she doesn't see herself as good, so I think being forced through some of the...
She did say that her, that she didn't want to be a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a lot like Harry Potter.
Does
It
she-
is our choices. Except for Sophie wants to be good and really doesn't act good. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Even if she likes dark, she likes the dark stuff, doesn't mean she has to necessarily be bad.
Act
There's
on
different
it,
there's
yeah.
different, it's like a grayscale.
Yeah.
She's a light gray.
Yes.
Agreed.
Whereas Sophie is like black as can be, craving to be as white and pure as can be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Agreed. Well, let us know what you guys think down below. Put down your predictions.
Maybe there's a plot twist to come. Maybe Sophie will realize that she's messed up and she needs to fix herself. Maybe she has some personal growth coming up too. Who knows?
Who knows?
There are many books, so
Yeah.
We'll see.
she's got a long time to go and fix herself.
Yes. That's all we got for this episode. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.